Hi, this is Paul McGuire up on the cliffs of Malibu, and it's a glorious day. The waves are rolling in. I want to talk to you for a moment about what's happening in our nation. I have been working 18 hours a day struggling to complete a book called A Prophecy of the Future of America, 2016-2017. It's a brand new, completely brand new book from the original, which was A Prophecy of the Future of America. This deals with a prophecy of the future of America, 2016-2017. And the burden I have from the Lord is incredible, because the decisions we make in 2016 and 2017 will set an irreversible course for where our nation, America, is going. And it is vital that people such as yourself fully understand the implications of 2016-2017. One, we have a presidential election, and that will determine to a significant degree which direction our nation is moving in. But there's something deeper than a political election that is going to determine America's future. Because the reality is that America is facing a geopolitical crisis. And by that I mean what's happening in Syria, Libya, with ISIS, Israel, Iraq. The vacuum of leadership in many of these Middle Eastern nations is a breeding ground for militant Islamic terrorism and organizations like ISIS. And ISIS is right now, as we speak, flooding the European Union with migrants from Syria that are 21 years old to 25 years old. They're warrior men, they're soldier men age. And as we look at Europe, and as we look at this influx of militant Islamic males, we see a lot of things happen. We see a lot of European women being raped. A lot. And it's being covered up by the media. And we see sociological turmoil. So why is this happening? Why do we see this welcome mat for migrants coming in from Syria who are largely predisposed to militant Islamic belief systems and who could potentially be terrorists? Why is this happening? And you have to deduce the fact that Angela Merkel of Germany, she's not an idiot, and the head of Great Britain, he's not an idiot. The head of France is not an idiot. They know what's happening. The head of Norway is not an idiot. They're allowing this, and they know what the consequences will be. They knew in advance about the rapes. They knew in advance about the cultural and social and political destabilization that is occurring in those nations. They knew in advance. So why have they allowed them in? Well, why is the United States allowing them in? We have the same problem here. We're allowing migrants, militant Islamic males, 21 to 25 years old, to come to the United States who could potentially be terrorists. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not even remotely suggesting that every person of the Muslim faith is a terrorist. I'm not saying that. I know many Muslims who are incredible people, who love America, who love freedom, who despise this militant Islamic faith. Many of them are Iranians. California, LA, is filled with lots of Iranians. They're hard workers. They're business people. They're not, running around with masks wanting to behead people. These are people that you would want to be a part of your society. But we're allowing in potential terrorists here in the United States and Europe. So what's the reason for it? The reason for it is this, and I deal with this in my book, my brand new book, A Prophecy of the Future of America, 2016-2017. The reason for this is to artificially ramrod militant Islamic terrorists from the Middle East into European nations and the United States for the strategic and intended purpose of breaking the social cohesion of the U.S. and Europe, to break what is left of the Judeo-Christian census, to break what is left of the European culture, or to break what is left of the cohesive American culture built on Judeo-Christian values. You see, these are being deliberately used as Trojan horses to destroy Western Judeo-Christian civilization. And it's not because the leaders are stupid. They're not stupid. They're intelligent. They know exactly what they're doing. But they're obeying their globalist masters, because their globalist masters want a one-world socialist government. That's what the United Nations is all about. That's what the Illuminati is all about. A one-world socialist nation. So they have a methodology on how they're doing that. Now I want you to pay close attention to me here, because this is going to affect your life and your children's life. And again, I've done tremendous research in my brand new book, A Prophecy of America 2016-2017. Let's just look at the current mathematical equation regarding migration in the European Western nations and in the United States of America. Currently, Americans from European descent and largely African American descent, they're not reproducing in America. So they're dwindling numerically. In Europe, it's even worse. People from a European descent, their population growth is practically zero. Therefore, they are not only not reproducing, but they will be extinct. White Europeans who embrace a Judeo-Christian Western civilization will be non-existent in the next number of years, because their reproduction rate is zero. Now that's important to pay attention to, because what we have in the United States and Europe is this. We have the population groups or demographics that believe in freedom to whatever extent. It's not as good a system as the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but the European Constitution, to whatever extent, does allow freedom, and it does allow you to make money, and it does allow you to prosper. But it's built on Judeo-Christian values, the hard work of Protestant values, and Judeo-Christian civilization. That's what made it prosperous. But when you flood these nations in Europe with migrants who hate Europe, who believe that they've been called by their God to conduct jihad, and this is coming into America too, you have a planned demolition derby, if you will, to destroy the social cohesion. And the purpose behind this is that the invisible elite, that they really do exist. We write about this in our book, The Babylon Code. And by the way, The Babylon Code is the #1 fastest selling prophecy book in the world right now, according to Amazon. And the secret societies that really rule America and Europe are controlling the strings. They're the puppet masters of all these politicians. And when you read the words of George Soros, the super billionaire, you see that it's his game plan to bring in such a numerical influx of people that are dependent on socialist big brother government. That's what it's about. And then they want chaos so that they can raise up martial law and create a totalitarian state. Now, this is important to grasp. So the game plan in the United States of America is to, and again, this is not to speak negatively of any ethnic group or racial group, but we're bringing a lot of people in from South America, and they're good people. They really are. They're good people. They have good hearts. They simply want the best for their families. But they're being used as pawns because the people who are bringing them in know full well that they're always going to vote for socialism. And socialism is, well, let's expose socialism. Socialism has nothing to do with being kind and redistributing the wealth. Socialism is a seductive mechanism where you brainwash the masses into thinking you're going to have a workers' paradise and utopia, but in reality, by the time socialism is done, historically, without exception, you see poverty, the loss of freedoms, the loss of religious freedoms, and totalitarianism. And that is the game plan of the invisible elite that control America and Europe. A case in point would be, and I talk about this in my book, A Prophecy of the Future of America, 2016-2017, is that when Rockefeller, the founder of the Council on Foreign Relations, Rockefeller was instrumental in creating this one world socialist government we call the United Nations. He visited communist China shortly after Chairman Mao had his revolution. And Chairman Mao said all power comes from the barrel of a gun. And recent data, by the way, on Chairman Mao tells us that the amount of millions of people we thought he killed, well, in reality, he killed millions more than the history books indicate. And Chairman Mao was a brutal Marxist revolutionary where he starved his own people to death through farming programs. He starved millions of people to death in communist China. He slaughtered millions of people in communist China by shooting them. He put them in prison camps. He's tortured them. And after he finished this mass massacre of millions of people, slaughtered by a godless, atheistic, communist ideology, Rockefeller, that all these evangelical Christian leaders, with incredible naivety, think he's wonderful. They think the Council on Foreign Relations is wonderful. Let me tell you something. Let me shoot straight from my heart. I spent 40 years researching this stuff. I know what I'm talking about. I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. And I read about all these notable Christian leaders. And I'm not judging their spirituality, and I'm not judging whether they're Christians or not, but I am saying that I can judge their intellectual game plan, and they are all getting on board with the United Nations program, and they're all getting on board with the Council on Foreign Relations program. And I am deeply troubled and grieved by that, because when you read, if you bother to read in their own words the UN program and the Council on Foreign Relations program, if you bother to read what these men say in their own words, and I quote them exhaustively from mainstream documentation in my book, A Prophecy of the Future of America,